talk a little bit about the Jupyter Lab environment, Jupyter Notebooks in general. I've really been seriously computing for about the last 12. And over that time, the biggest change that I've seen is the rise of the notebook environment. There's a lot of hype about this right now. There are many people who think that notebooks are going to completely replace traditional scientific computing paper. And whether or not that's true, it's certainly true that notebooks are definitely increasing in popularity. You will see more and more articles that are presented in notebook format. And there are several reasons for that. The first is that it's easier to understand a notebook because you can see what's happening. The second reason is, as there are more notebooks, there are going to be more notebooks. We're going to be looking at a notebook environment called Jupyter. Jupyter stands for Julia, Python, and R. Jupyter. There were 200,000 notebooks on GitHub in 2015. In September 2018, there were 2.5 million. If you look at a Jupyter notebook, you'll see that they can be quite powerful. So here is a Jupyter notebook that I found online. It gives an overview of linear regression, and I think this notebook is quite well done. You see you have a table, you have a header, you have subheading, you have lists, you have links to other web pages, you have code, and when you run code, you get to see the output of that code. So what we're going to do right now, go over how do you actually do some of these things for yourself. I'm in a program called Jupyter Lab right now. I have some different options about which type of document I want to create. I'm going to create a Python 3 notebook. This is my editor window. It includes something called Markdown. Markdown is an extension of HTML, which is a language that websites are typically developed. So anything that you can do on a website with basic HTML, you can do with Markdown. I can just type, hello, this is going to be a great notebook. Now what I'm typing in right now is called a cell. When I want to finish this cell and move on to the next cell, I can either hit the run button, which is the triangle right here, or I can hit shift enter. And I'm going to usually hit shift enter. You can make a cell become Markdown by hitting an M button, which you saw that changed the cell to Markdown. Or you can actually create a heading by using the pound sign. So this is a heading, and it just shows up that way until I hit shift return. Then I see, okay, this is going to be larger font size, like what I would typically put at the beginning of the document, or maybe at the beginning of a section. You can get smaller headings by using, I need to make sure that I make this be a Markdown cell. So you can do smaller headings by using 2 or more hashes. So this is a smaller heading. I hit shift enter. 3 hashes. I want to make sure this is Markdown if I'm going to be doing it that way. Smaller. And I think you can do as deep as 4 hashes. Okay, now this is pretty small. And of course I can include the regular text. So this already, as soon as I create the cell, I can either hit M or I can go up here and convert it to Markdown. Anywhere you want different font sizes or different heading, you can do that by using pound sign. You can get bold or italic text, asterisks. I would like for some text to be bold, and for other text, it should be double asterisks for bold, single asterisks for italic. This looks like this until I hit shift enter, which then converts it from Markdown, and it shows it now in the normal text way you would expect. Any experience with coding or computing probably know that no one knows everything. So I don't know how to make an itemized list in Markdown. So I'm going to look it up. Itemized list in Markdown. Searching. Try this first suggestion. So notice if I search for itemized, it actually doesn't find it. Search for list, it says bulleted list, and that's what I was hoping for. It looks like I can create a bulleted list by doing an asterisk before the item. Item 1, item 2, item 3, 4. If I hit shift enter, what's going to happen? I get an error invalid syntax. Why did that happen? Because I was in code, not in Markdown. This doesn't look like valid Python code, right? So I want to convert this to Markdown, hit shift enter, and now voila, I have a bulleted list. You're not going to know how to do everything ever. I like this one. For instance, this shows you exactly how you can make a link to a web page in Markdown. But those are the basics of Markdown. You want to be sure that your cell is in Markdown. You can change the font size, bold or italic, and if it's more involved than that, probably want to find a good reference and look up what to do.